Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at, well, a really intense moment from the source material.
And we've got an interesting source for this discussion. It's an excerpt from Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris.
Yeah, and what's really striking are these logical links it makes. It builds this, frankly, quite severe argument that we really need to unpack.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to look at the, let's say, the moral chain reaction described here.
It's focused on yield to correction.
It uses that story of King Saul and the prophet Samuel from the Hebrew Bible as a starting point.
From 1 Samuel, right?
Exactly, 1 Samuel 15. He uses that to build this case about disobedience and where it can ultimately lead.
That's right. And this devotional text we're examining uses Saul's massive failure, his disobedience, to trace out a pretty sobering spiritual path.
Yeah, our mission is to kind of unpack these surprising connections the text makes. It draws these parallels between, resisting correction and some really serious spiritual issues.
It really does.
So let's start with Saul. In 1 Samuel 15, his initial mistake seems, almost understandable on the surface. He's told to destroy everything.
Utterly destroy, no exceptions.
But he saves the best animals and the enemy king. And his reason. He says it's for a sacrifice to God.
Right, a big religious gesture.
So the question the text tackles is, how did that making a sacrifice end up being worse than just doing what he was told?
Well, the text lays out this really clear hierarchy. Samuel's words are blunt. To obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams.
Okay, so action over intention. Or maybe right action over a supposedly good gesture.
It's more like internal posture over external performance. The analysis we have points out God isn't impressed by the big show if your heart isn't submitted.
Yeah.
Saul tried to swap out God's direct command for his own grander idea, but the source says God wants you living out his word, actually doing the word, that internal surrender. That's the priority, way over any religious gesture.
So obedience comes first.
Always.
Always.
That's the foundation.
Okay, so if that simple disobedience is step one, the text then really ramps things up. It shows this escalation.
Exactly. It's not just a single mistake.
It says disobedience leads to rebellion. And then you get this honestly shocking comparison. Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft.
Whoa. Yeah, that lands heavily, doesn't it? And you have to think about what witchcraft or divination meant back then.
Seeking guidance outside the proper channels?
Precisely. It was about rejecting God's established authority and looking for answers or power somewhere else, or maybe in yourself.
Okay, but hold on. Is comparing rebellion like Saul's to witchcraft maybe a bit much for us today? Does it feel like it overstates the case?
That's a fair question, but I think the text's point is about the function of the act. Both rebellion, as defined here, and witchcraft are radical rejections of legitimate external authority.
So in both cases, you're essentially saying, my way, not yours.
You got it. You're turning away from the given instruction, the rightful source of guidance.
Okay, so disobedience breeds this active rebellion. But it doesn't end there, does it?
No, the source says this sustained rebellion, this refusal to yield, it hardens, it becomes stubbornness.
And how does it define stubbornness? Just being difficult?
It's more specific. It's the refusal to accept correction. It's digging your heels in an insistence on one's own way in disregard of godly counsel and instructions.
Right. I know people like that. Maybe I am people like that sometimes.
We all can be, can't we? But here's the final, really startling comparison. The stubbornness is equated with iniquity and idolatry.
Okay, that feels like the biggest leap. How does being stubborn, refusing to be corrected, get put in the same basket as actual idolatry, like bowing down to a statue?
It all circles back to authority. When you're locked into that stubborn refusal, the text argues you've effectively kicked God, or the source of wisdom, off the throne of your life.
And put yourself there instead.
Exactly. You're elevating your own opinion, your own feelings, your own judgment above the word or the counsel you received. You become your own ultimate authority.
So you're worshiping your own viewpoint.
That's the connection the text makes. It calls it self-worship, and the text is blunt. Self-worship is idolatry.
Wow.
So refusing correction isn't just being difficult. It's presented as making an idol of yourself. Your will becomes supreme.
So the chain is disobedience, which, if unchecked, becomes rebellion, acting like witchcraft. And if that persists, it hardens into stubbornness, which is like idolatry, self-idolatry.
That's the progression the source lays out. It's quite a stark picture.
It really is. It makes you see resistance, even small resistance, in a totally different light. The core lesson seems to be that humility, yielding to the word, accepting correction, is wisdom.
Absolutely. And avoiding that path, well, it leads you up this ladder of pretty severe consequences.
Because the external stuff, like Saul trying to sacrifice, it just doesn't count if the inside is resisting.
That's what the source asserts. The internal state is what matters most. And maybe that leaves us and you listening with something to chew on.
If rejecting external instruction in this kind of moral or spiritual context can lead to elevating your own opinions to the level of an idol, where else might this happen? Think about your work, your relationships, your projects. Where do the subtle lines between, say, strong personal conviction and potentially a kind of self-worship, where do those lines start to blur?
When does confidence tip over into refusing any outside input?
Exactly. Something to maybe mull over next time you receive some constructive criticism or advice.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We trust you were blessed by this episode. To gain unlimited access to Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris, please download the Rhapsody app using the link myapp.rhapsodyofrealities.org. God bless you.